Welcome back to the news at 10. And just to remind you, President Muhammadu Buhari has been speaking on the responses of government agencies as well as the Lagos state government on the coronavirus pandemic. In a tweet released by his Twitter handle, the president says he's approved with immediate effect the release of the sum of 10 billion naira, a grant to the Lagos state government, which remains the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak in Nigeria. The president says the grant is to enable Lagos State to increase its capacity to control and contain the outbreak while also supporting other states with capacity building. Other measures put in place by the president include the release of 5 billion naira special intervention fund to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to equip, expand and provide personnel to its facilities and laboratories nationwide. President Buhari asked that he has directed the NCDC to draft all its recent retirees back into service to beef up its manpower as the nation responds to the pandemic. Going to toss it over now to Maokwe Ogun Yusuf in Abuja for more on the news at 10. Hi, Maokwe.
Hello, Amarachi. It's good to see you, and we welcome our viewers to our Abuja studios. As efforts to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the country continue, industrialist and founder of Bua Group, Abdul Samad Rabiu, has announced a donation of 1 billion naira in cash through the Bua Foundation to help combat the novel coronavirus. The group has also placed an order for additional equipment and medical supplies, including testing kits and medical protective gear, to 9 states in Nigeria. The medical supplies are expected to be distributed to Lagos, Kano, Adamawa, Edo, Kwara, Rivers, Abia, Akwa Ibom, and Sokoto states. The states represent the 2 most populated states in northern and southern Nigeria and 7 others across all geopolitical regions in the country. The BUA chairman says it's very important for the private sector to support government efforts to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. He adds that the 1 billion naira donation will be provided through the Central Bank of Nigeria-led Private Sector Coalition Committee against COVID-19. And the federal government says it will not allow the exploitation of Nigerians over the price of medical supplies for the control of COVID-19. The Director General of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Council, Mr. Babatunde Erukera, explains that arbitrary increase of prices of any commodity is a violation of the law, which is punishable by a jail term. Mr. Erukera gave this charge to some traders in Onitsha, in Anambra State.
This is a time of emergency, and a time of emergency is not the time to try and make money off people. We're not encouraging business people to make a loss, but we certainly know that taking advantage of the situation and exploiting people is against the law. And so that's why we're speaking with you as the executives of the Onitsha Market Association. Information and investigation shows that your market is a very big supplier in all these products across the country, not just for Onitsha, but across the country. And so that is why we have called this meeting between us and you. But because of the times we're in, it is better that we do this by video conference. And we have made a few releases. If you know about our release, our officers are there. They will tell you that excessive pricing is a violation of the law. And in the work we have been doing with the retailers, one of the things we're discovering is that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the price they get from you, the suppliers, is high. And so they want to try and make a profit based on that.
And talking about manufacturers not seeking profit, Hypo Home Care Products Limited, makers of one of Nigeria's preferred bleach products, has announced a nationwide price slash by up to 50% on Hypo bleach bottle units. The management of the company believes the timely gesture will help to further contain the surge of COVID-19, as well as encourage a safer and well-disinfected environment. A statement by Hypo Bleach brand manager, Ms. Omotunde Bamigbaye, says Hypo Bleach bottles across the open market distribution network is now slashed by 20% and 50% at ShopRite and Spar outlets nationwide. The statement adds that the company plays a huge role in promoting personal and domestic hygiene and therefore deems it necessary to make hypo-bleach accessible and affordable, especially during this critical period. And away from stories on COVID-19, the war on insurgency is intensifying in the northeast, where the Nigerian army says security forces have destroyed some structures belonging to the Islamic State of West Africa province as ISWAP in airstrikes conducted at Mukto in Borno State. According to a statement by the acting director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyuko, the mission was executed by the air component of Operation Lafia Dole on March the 25th. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance flights reportedly showed that the ISWAP elements were using some compounds in 2 locations within the settlements to store their logistics as well as train their fighters. Fighter jets dispatched the identified compounds, scored accurate hits, destroying the structures and neutralizing their occupants. And to matters of justice, the family of the murdered woman leader of the People's Democratic Party in Kogi State is asking the federal government to ensure that she gets justice, as some of the suspects arrested in connection with her murder are yet to be prosecuted. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the husband of the late woman leader, Mr. Simon Abu, says the late Mrs. Salome Abu was murdered in a gruesome manner. He adds that several months after her death, the state government is yet to commiserate with the family even after her burial. Besides justice, Mr. Abu is also demanding that compensation be paid to the family for what he describes as a massive destruction of property belonging to their members. And that's all from our Abuja studios. It's back to you now, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Here in Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, Ikeja Underbridge and Computer Village in the city's capital are on lockdown following the directive of the state government. Law enforcement officials have been at the location, as well as the Ladipo Motor Spare Parts Market, to enforce the lockdown order. The traders, however, want the government to provide them with free face masks and gloves, as well as sanitizers. Our correspondent, Nyotaibe, has a report.
On a normal day, this road will be very busy and boisterous with all manner of people running their businesses here. Those buying and selling will be along here. But today, it's all shut down. The shops are locked, but you find out that there are a lot of vehicles moving around, yet the buyers and the sellers are not available. A closer look at the Computer Village axis in Ikeja shows a complete shutdown of shops. Although the vendors appear to have complied with the state government's directive, many still hang around in clusters. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps officials move around to ensure compliance.
All the shops are closed, so we are moving from one place to another to check it out.
The traders and store owners are the ones bearing the brunt. The market head of the Computer Village says everyone will comply.
It started today. I know a lot of people, some people might not even hear about the compliance, but we know that we're going to shut everywhere down in Computer Village as the directives of the Lagos state government.
People might still decide to stay on. They might not decide to stay back at home. That was why we are on ground.
We also make a stop at the Ladipo market in Oshodi area. The gates are locked as well.
They are doing this thing to protect the spread of this virus, you understand? But as they close the shops, to help us for the spreading of virus, they're supposed to do something.
If you go walk down the street to buy this nose mask or to buy sanitizer, they will tell you sanitizer is like 500 naira, 1,000. Okay, nose mask they used to share. Instead of them to share it, they will tell you are going to buy like 500. So what's the necessity of you shutting down the market if you can provide for us?
The lockdown of these markets would definitely mean huge financial losses to the shop owners and discomfort for the buyers. But then, it's health above all else.
Neil Taigbe, reporting for Channels Television News.
Time now for business news. Here's Teniola Shabuwale.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Samarachi. Welcome to Business News. Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria will be going on a 2-week market holiday following permission by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In a notice to the BDC operators and directors, AFCON President Aminu Gwadabe said the CBN's approval meant that sales of foreign exchange to BDCs is now suspended till further notice. The association, in a statement, said a request was sent to the Apex Bank to grant the holiday following ongoing challenges faced in local and global economies due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Gwadabe also advised the public not to go into panic buying, hoarding or patronizing street traders, stating that the CBN has enough reserves to sustain supplies when the BDCs return to operations. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria and Bankers Committee have partnered some private sector companies to set up the battle through resource and equipment sourcing. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, announced the initiative tagged the Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 with a set of initial funding committee members tasked with at least 1 billion naira donation towards the program.
The objectives of the coalition are: 1. Mobilize private sector thought leadership. 2. Mobilize private sector resources. 3. Increase general public awareness and education and buy-in. 4. Provide direct support to private and public health care's ability to respond to the crisis. And 5. Support federal government's effort. The steering committee, according to consensus by the stakeholders in the private sector, will be chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who currently chairs the Federal Government Committee on COVID-19. 2. Funding Committee. This committee will be responsible for the initial funding of this effort. Membership comprise the Central Bank of Nigeria, Aliko Dangote, Herbert Wigwe, Jim Ovia, Tony Elumelu, Shegun Agbaje, Abdul Samad Rabiu, and Mr. Femi Otedola. Each member of this committee is expected to contribute at least 1 billion naira to this effort.
Now, after a 3-day gain, crude oil prices fell today with the prospect of rapidly dwindling demand due to the coronavirus travel bans and lockdowns. Brent crude fell by 3.69% to trade at $26.43 a barrel. West Texas was not left out in the drop as it slipped 7.7% to trade at $22.60 a barrel. Analysts believe with lockdowns in many countries, expectations of oil demand contracting by more than 10 million barrels a day are rising, and such demand loss will increase the supply glut. Thursday's Nigerian equities market came back to winning ways due to investors' appetite for the banking sector. Here's Layo Adegoke with the figures of today's trading.
Thank you and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Investors' appetite for the banking sector drove the Nigerian equities market back to winning ways on Thursday as the all-share index climbed 0.13% to 21,757.47. Market capitalization also grew by 15 billion naira to 11.33 trillion naira. The banking sector was up 5.99% thanks to gains recorded by GT Bank, Union Bank and Access Bank. The insurance sector was also up 1.89%, while the consumer goods sector plunged 4.61%, dragged down by losses from Nestle. The total volume of trade dropped to 172.16 million units, valued at 1.9 billion naira, and exchanged hands in over 3,000 500 deals, driven majorly by the shares of Zenith, UBA and Sterling Bank. Morrison, United Capital and Union Bank were the top 3 gainers with 10% each. On the flip side, consumer goods giant Nestle led the day's top losers with 10%. And that's it on the stock market report. I'm Layo Adegoke. It's back to you.
Thanks, Lyle. Stocks surged for a third straight day as the U.S. Senate passed a massive economic stimulus bill amid the coronavirus outbreak. Let's take a look at some of today's numbers. And that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Daniel. Still ahead on the news at 10. European Club Association warns that football faces a threat of existence over the standstill caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Plus, more news from our London studios and around the world in 5. Do stay with us.